Hello, I'm Erin Marcus, founder and CEO of Conquer Your Business, and I want to welcome you to Ready Yet? If all you needed was a step-by-step plan of what to do, you could buy a book on how to succeed and you would be all set. But here's the rub. You'll never do what it takes until you become the person it takes to do it. The Ready Yet podcast is dedicated to those who are ready to become the person who succeeds, ready to become the person who steps into more, and ready to become the best version of themselves. In the I'm Ready interview series, join me for inspiring conversations with people who figured out who they needed to be in order to achieve their dreams and were brave enough to be that person. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Ready Yet podcast. Allison and I are back in our offices. Hello. And in preparation for 2021, we started to have a conversation about risk. What risks are you willing to take? What are you not willing to take? What's your definition of risk? Because I have a feeling we have a very different definition. One of my friends, I was working on something with a coach, and we were deciding if we were going to do something or not. And he just looked at me and went, "Wow, you like it out here on the thin branches, don't you?" You're willing to go out there on those thin branches, aren't you? And it just got us talking about risk and what role does it play in your life, in your business?
And I was talking about this with my husband the other day because he just bought a new phone, and I'm talking about hours and hours of him watching YouTube videos on the phone and different reviews, and he will research something until, just there's nothing left to research. And it's just for a phone. But then when it comes to like moving to Florida on a whim or buying a new house, he and I are like, yep, done.
Boom, do it.
Boom, do it. No questions, done.
So what's the difference?
That's what we were trying to figure out.
Because I think there's research done for fear of making a mistake. And then I also think there's geeked out research where you like the topic, so you're doing more research than necessary, kind of because you like the topic, not because you can't make a decision.
I mean, that could be it, but I don't know. He is kind of when it comes to technology, it's more like the trivial decisions. He doesn't want to take that risk as much. But when it's like, yeah, let's buy a new house. Sure. Then
let's take a horse to Florida and buy it a pony.
Yeah. I mean, in big decisions like that, I feel like, I've taken some pretty random risks in my life. Like, yeah. And it was like not a big deal. But yeah, little things tend to be like, get caught up.
Well, I wonder if it's because you already knew all along what you wanted. I think it's not as much of a risk when you're just finally admitting to yourself what you want.
Yeah. That's the point.
Then it's just doing the thing that you probably should have been doing all along. Well, and for you moving, okay, I know you moved away from your best friend, but your husband went with you. I can't remember if you were already married or not, but you went together and you still had your job.
Yeah. Well, then that was a big thing, is when we moved to Florida, we had only been dating 6 months, and he's a mechanic, so he could not take his job with him. Yeah. I mean, same employer. So he quit his job and moved with his girlfriend of 6 months across the country. And it all worked out for the best. I think we were here like a week and he had a job, but I mean, yeah, that's a big risk.
Right. For him, that was absolute big risk.
Yeah. But that new iPhone, man, can't pull that trigger.
I feel him on the iPhone thing. It didn't take me long to decide which phone I wanted. It took me a long time to go get the new phone, mostly because I knew how the old phone worked. So that was just easy.
The risk of learning a new
The
operating
annoyance, the
system.
annoyance of learning the new phone. And I'm a pretty early adopter for a lot of things, but I don't know. When I don't have my glasses on, I like to already know where the buttons are. So I don't do things by accident.
Oh, that's like the cutest thing you've ever said.
It's the truth. It's the truth.
Oh my God. Well, and what kind of risks do you feel like you take with your business, or like what's the biggest risk you
The
take?
biggest risk that I take is I take a lot of big financial risks. I try things that I've never done before.
Yeah, you definitely
I've
do.
completely gotten over visibility as an issue. That did not used to be the case. Risking putting myself out in front of people. And here's the thing, interestingly enough, it wasn't strangers I was worried about. I can get on stage in front of 500 strangers and give a presentation. That to me wasn't a risk. That I was fine with. Putting out on social media and standing much stronger in my message of what I'm able to do for my clients in a place where friends and family from high school, friends and family from college, coworkers from my career, in a place where they all saw it, that felt like a much bigger risk to me. That I had a much harder time doing that.
Yeah.
Which is so weird because those people have already proven that they care about me and support me. Those people are already have been supporters. And yet, and maybe it's because they know the failures. There was a bit of fear around, well, who does she think she is? She screwed up XYZ back in 97. So what could she possibly know? I mean, right?
Yeah.
But that was more of a fear for me. And it's so funny because in a risk, my current website, and yes, I need an upgrade, but my current website is much stronger than the one I had previously. It's much more direct. It much more talks about what I'm able to do for people in no uncertain terms. And that felt like a big risk putting that out there. I was really like, oh my God, what are people gonna think? And then I got really, really, really busy, like crazy busy. And obviously somebody else created that website. I don't know how to do that.
What?
And yeah, I really don't know how to do that. And I wrote it and someone else edited it for me. But somebody else pressed the submit button. Somebody else pressed the launch button. And I was really busy. So I literally forgot that I was scared. I literally forgot. I was too busy. I don't even remember now what was going on at the time. I was too busy. I knew it was out there in the world, but I was so busy that I forgot I was scared. And then all these messages started coming back and these comments about, oh my God, that's so you, that's so great. And it took me another 2 or 3 days to even remember that I had been scared.
Wow.
And I don't know that I've told anybody that before, but so I got too busy to remember I was scared. And then the response was so good that it took me 2, 3 more days to remember I had been scared. And then I just get mad at myself because it's like, well, why did I put myself through that?
Preaching the choir. Yeah. That's me. Why did I do that?
Why did I do that to myself? So I'm increasingly willing to take risks, whether they're financial and now with visibility. I'm increasingly willing to talk about the failures because, 2018 for me was just, I can't say that it's complete failure because I couldn't be doing now what I'm doing now if I didn't do then what I did then. But damn, did nothing go the way I had hoped it was going to go that year. That didn't work out at all. But if I wouldn't have taken the risks and tried it.
Yeah.
So the risks that you are willing to take, where do you think, like, why do you think you're able to do those?
Well, I mean, to take kind of a step back, I mean, we had talked previously about just being happy and doing you. And I feel like I take those risks as I'm like happy about it. And my body compass is like, yes, go this direction.
Right.
And I trust my gut. I think after learning who I am and how I work, I just trust my gut. And it doesn't feel as risky when I'm going that gut direction.
That's a great point. If you're doing the right thing, it doesn't feel as risky. It's easier to then interpret it as excitement, not risk.
Yeah. To an outsider, it probably looks really freaking risky.
Right, exactly. And those are all the same chemicals. Someone told me that a long time ago. Fear and excitement are basically the same chemicals released in your body. You get to choose how you interpret it. Now, it's not that easy, but not a fan of haunted houses. Don't like people popping out at me. With where I grew up, that was never a good thing. But fear and excitement have the same chemicals in them. So it's not always a risk, even though it can look externally like a risk. You might be interpreting it as excitement. The other thing for me, I think one of the reasons I'm willing to try things is because, so I've had a job since I was 13 years old. I've had a job since I was 13 years old. I babysat, but it was 2 families and it was 4 days a week. So at 13 years old, now at an age where you're not even allowed to leave your children home alone by themselves, I was in charge of other people's infants. Right? When I think about that, it's just crazy.
Horrifying.
They gave me their children. I was 13. Seriously. But I know I can get a job. I know my brain doesn't run away with me to worst case scenario of homeless, bankrupt, because I've taken care of myself for so long that, and I wonder, as the next generations of kids who didn't grow up that way, what is their risk tolerance going to be if they don't have the confidence in their ability to handle things?
Yeah. I mean, I found with me, confidence just came with age.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I hate to be so cliche about it, but
it's so true though.
So true. The best thing about getting older is how much I don't care anymore.
Yep. No doubt.
All the things I don't care about anymore. So I was gonna say, aside from moving to Florida and bringing what was then a only few month boyfriend, because you were still young then, when you're 40 and 50 and you've been dating for 6 months, you know what you want and what you don't want. But when you're in your 20s, that's not the case.
Yeah.
In your 20s, it's still a big deal. So aside from that, what's another big risk that you've taken?
I mean, I mentioned our houses. Quitting my job.
Yes.
We talked on the other podcast episode about how I quit my corporate job. I had no plans. I did not know what I was going to do, but that was a really big friggin', what was it? Thin branch.
That was the thin branch you were out on. Well, but talking about what we have, both last week with what you've learned in 2020 and now having this conversation about risk, you keep going back to the happiness factor. And it doesn't feel like a risk when you're trusting your gut, and you had gotten so unhappy that the risk no longer felt like a risk. It felt like a resolution.
That's totally true. Yeah. It was like it was a non-decision decision. Like I had to do it for sure.
So how then, because I absolutely agree with that. I think there's a lot of things we do. Wouldn't it be nice though if we didn't have to hit the whatever version of rock bottom of emotional toil? So what are some indicators that tell you it's time to take a risk instead of becoming more miserable?
Ooh. I mean, for me, it was bringing my work home. Well, and I worked from home, but bringing my work home with me, after hours, and being miserable after hours and having that affect relationships. And, if your professional life is bleeding into other aspects of your life and affecting it in a negative way,
right?
It's time to reevaluate things.
Yeah, I think that self-awareness is a really important thing to cultivate.
Yeah.
To be able to recognize behavior that is not your normal state, because you're not a normally unhappy person. It's not your normal state.
No.
So recognizing this is not my normal happy state, what is creating this? And it's interesting because it'll feel more like a risk if you haven't gotten to the point yet where it's it's a solution.
Yeah.
But maybe that risk taking might feel better at the time, knowing you're saving yourself.
Yeah.
Quitting my job also, huge risk. Not because I didn't think I could never get another job, but leaving such solid ground.
Leaving the cushiness.
Yeah.
For something very not cushy.
Yes. I mean, leaving total solid ground beneath your feet.
Yeah. You blew my mind when you did that. I remember that.
Believe me, same. It was a long time coming, but same. What are the risks you see people avoid taking around you that you think would just change their lives if they did it?
I mean, so much of it comes back to that happiness aspect. I think so many people become complacent with not being happy that they think they think they're happy, and they're clearly not. And you just get in that rut and routine and think that this is life and this is how I need to do it, and you don't. Like,
I'm phrasing all of that now settling.
Yeah.
I'm very big right now on not settling. I used to call it tolerating, like, what am I tolerating? And I've now stepped that up to where am I settling?
Yeah.
And not being willing to continue that. And it is brutal to watch people be miserable. And then I, somewhere along the way, flip the switch to annoyed, like, you're doing this to yourself.
Yeah.
What's the biggest risk you're going to take next year?
I mean, we talk about being complacent, and that's like, I don't know yet. I mean, you know me with my organizing business. I'm small and I like to keep it small. But then there's also, I still want to grow. So what's that happy medium between, where I am?
I think you should get another horse.
Yeah. Do you want to pay for it? Oh my God.
You need another. You should get a goat. That's what you should get, is a goat.
My neighbor has goats, so I get my goat fix through the fence over there. Oh my God. They have mini cows too. You don't know cuteness until you see a mini cow.
I got licked, but I got too close to a mini cow once. And you want to talk about a risk? I leaned down through the fence of the fluffy, fuzzy mini cow to give him scritches on his head. And in a move I never anticipated in a million years, he gave me the full face. It was so gross. It was so gross. That was a risk I have not repeated. I have never again, I learned from that one. I have never again put my face right in front of a cute, fluffy farm animal ever since that. So that was a risk I didn't realize I was taking, but I learned from it.
Non-me related risks, I would love for other people in my life to venture out on their own into the entrepreneurial world. I want that for them really, really bad.
Yeah, that's so true. That's like, it's hard sometimes to listen to people complain about their jobs, realizing that most people aren't nuts and going to do this thing on their own, that they prefer to have jobs. And some of them have obligations, and I get that, if you got kids or, people relying on you, it's a little different. But going back to something, I keep saying about how I'm so unemployable. You just want the freedom for other people to fully express themselves.
Yeah. I feel so great in what I do. And, waking up in the morning, I'm happy. I'm like raring to take the day on. And when I see someone who's like, oh, I have a case of the Mondays, I feel,
oh my God,
for
that
them.
makes me crazy.
I feel for them because it sucks. It sucks
absolutely.
Like
and yeah, I think that's when, going back to your concept of happiness, I think that is also something that drives me. I am willing to take a bigger risk when I'm unhappy.
Yeah.
Because it's no longer acceptable for me to be there. And if it requires a risk to get out of it, then that's what it requires.
Yeah.
Going back, I heard your dog bark. Going back to last week's episode of How Are Things Different? Like, there's more dogs barking now. I don't know what's going on up there, but it is what it is, and evidently I can't stop it. So
I think my husband's home, so yeah, the dogs will not stop barking for a little bit.
This is just where we're at.
this is our life.
This is our life now. I did a short video for somebody, and I'm like, oh, I hope the cat's not here. And she's like, why? That's your brand. Yeah, dogs barking, cats in the video is now officially the brand. Absolutely. Nice. Awesome. My biggest risk, I think, for 2021, I mean, I'm doing a 3-day event. That's something people usually wait well into their business to do, and I'm doing it sooner than most. That doesn't feel like a risk to me. It is. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's a financial risk there, but I want to say that's the biggest risk, but I don't think it will be. I just don't. I mean,
no, I agree. I mean, obviously I know you and I know your business, and it feels like the right move. It doesn't feel like a big risk.
It feels like work. But that's just it. I think one of the things that I've learned about risk is it's not a risk. It's a decision. And then you do what you need to do to make the decision work or not work.
Yeah.
So it's not take the risk and sit back. It's make the decision, and to quote Larry Winget, make the decision and then make the decision right. Do what you need to do so that becomes the right decision. Absolutely.
Love it.
Well, I can't wait to see what you do in 2021 and the role you play in helping me do what I'm doing in 2021. And hopefully we'll all get to do at least part of it in person. Fingers crossed.
Yeah. I love to be there for your event, so.
And at the same time, I don't want everything to go back to the way it was. I won't use new normal because that just sounds weird. Because I think everything's a constant evolution, but I think we've learned a lot of things this year that will be helpful going forward that we don't have to let go of.
Yeah.
It's also a little easier to take risks from your home. I don't know why, for me, there's something about the fact that I'm on stage, quote unquote, from my office. It just feels less risky. You know, when all else fails, I have my emotional support cat that
and your pajama pants.
And my pajama pants and my fuzzy socks. Right. So it just doesn't feel as risky.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Well, this was fun. I always like talking with you and getting different. It makes the wheels turn on all the different ideas.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. We'll see you soon.
Bye.
Thank you so much for joining me on the Ready Yet podcast. I get so motivated by the amazing accomplishments of the remarkable people I meet, and I'm excited to be able to share some of their stories with you. You can find more episodes of Ready Yet at your favorite source for podcasts or at conqueryourbusiness.com. And if you've already decided that you are ready to become the person you need to be to achieve your big goals, feel free to reach out to find out how I can support you in your efforts. Or check out the Work with Erin page on the Conquer Your Business website. I also invite you to share this podcast with anyone you know who loves to learn and be inspired. And if you're so inclined, I'd be absolutely grateful for any reviews you'd like to share as well. Thanks again for joining me. This has been Erin Marcus, hopefully inspiring and helping you to go conquer your big dreams.